Would you raise your hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now pending should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
I would never have introduced them. It would never have occurred to me to introduce them. I couldn't imagine them being very good too.
New Epstein files have just been released, and they are sending shockwaves through the royal family. Word is, there are names and links that could place Meghan Markle right at the heart of Epstein's island, and this time, even the palace might not be able to keep it quiet.
If Meghan Markle has hang out with Karina, then she was separated from Jeffrey Epstein just by 1 degree. Author further said on Twitter, the Duchess of Sussex is controlled by the same forces that control Jeffrey Epstein.
But to understand which people might be involved, how they have been woven into Meghan's life, and how they transformed her from a nobody into a rising star, and finally, a duchess, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. Before the Harry, before the Megxit, before the world knew her name. At this point in history, June 2011, Meghan Markle was just another actress trying to survive in a brutal industry. She had no real public recognition in the way that most high-level stars might. Not famous, not powerful, not important enough for scrutiny. She auditioned, networked, and did what thousands of others were doing at the same time, trying to be seen.
Who is behind Meghan's sudden rise or being able to infiltrate the royal family so quickly?
Let's be real for a second. At this stage in her life, there were no private jets, there were no security teams sweeping the perimeter, there were no billionaires on speed dial. She was a working girl, hustling in Toronto, living a life that was completely, utterly normal. And this is important. You have to understand this baseline to understand the anomaly that comes later.
To infiltrate that circle of people, because it's really hard to break into the royal family. You have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And yes,
in 2011, she is flying commercial. She is unconnected. So the question you have to ask yourself is this: how does a woman go from auditioning for cable TV roles to being whispered about in the same breath as the world's most powerful gatekeepers in less than 5 years? It wasn't luck, and it wasn't just ambition. It looks a lot like she was failing upwards into a new social stratosphere. Somewhere between the set of Suits and the gates of Kensington Palace, Meghan stopped being just an actress and started being an asset.
I believe that she's being protected not because of who she is, but because of the connections of the people that put her there.
But who spotted her? Who pulled her out of the crowd? To find that answer, we don't look at Harry. We look at the man who holds the keys to the world's most exclusive doors. If you look at the photos from those early days, there is one face that always pops up. He's always there, hovering in the background or standing right next to her with a protective arm around her shoulder. Markus Anderson.
In a new podcast shared on YouTube in which she explored the connections between Markle, her close friend Markus Anderson, he is the link between so many things about Meghan Markle and Harry.
Now, to the uninitiated, Markus is just a consultant for Soho House. But if you know how the elite world works, you know that Soho House isn't just a club where people grab a drink. It is a network. It is a hunting ground. It is a place where the lines between socializing and networking get very, very blurry.
I do know that she was aware of people and she had some friends, but how did she get there? And it all leads back to Soho House and Ron Burkle.
Markus wasn't just a friend. He was the connector. He was the man who knew everyone. He knew the royals, he knew the billionaires, and crucially, he knew the crowd that hung around the Epstein circle. Once Meghan got close to Markus, her life didn't just change, it accelerated. Suddenly, she wasn't just in Toronto, she was at the opening of Soho House Istanbul. She was in London. She was rubbing shoulders with people whose net worth makes movie stars look poor.
She's a person who started from nothing and has become a world global star, and that route to the top.
This is where the handling begins. You see, in these circles, there are people who have money, and there are people who provide company to the people who have money. Markus Anderson was the bridge between those two worlds. And suddenly, Meghan Markle, the girl from Suits, was being placed in rooms she had no business being in. Was she there because of her acting talent? Or was she there because she fit a certain profile?
She moved to Toronto to work on Suits. She divorced herself from her past. She was determined to cut herself off from Hollywood and build her own new life in Toronto.
Think about the timeline. The moment Markus enters the picture, the quality of Meghan's lifestyle skyrockets. But her paycheck hadn't changed yet. So who was footing the bill? Who was paying for the travel, the clothes, the access? It leads us to a specific date in 2017, a date that exposes the entire house of cards. Let's fast forward to March 2017. Meghan and Harry are dating. They are going to a wedding in Jamaica for one of Harry's best friends. Now picture this scene. Prince Harry, a blood royal, the son of the future king, arrives on a commercial flight. He sat in economy plus. The Prince of England, flying like a regular tourist. Why? Because the royals are obsessed with optics. They don't want to look like they are wasting taxpayer money. But Meghan? Meghan didn't fly commercial. Meghan arrived on a private jet, a chaotic, massive display of wealth that completely overshadowed Harry's arrival.
Because Meghan Markle did many trips back then, looking for men. So Meghan Markle didn't go looking for work. She went looking for men.
Who pays for a cable TV actress to take a private jet that costs tens of thousands of dollars an hour, while her royal boyfriend is sitting in a cramped seat on British Airways? Harry didn't pay for it. Meghan certainly couldn't afford it on a basic cable salary. The jet belonged to Ron Burkle. If that name sounds familiar, it should. Ron Burkle is a billionaire, a tycoon, but more importantly, his name appears in the one place no one wants to be seen, the Black Book, the logs, the circles of Jeffrey Epstein. Ron Burkle was known to hang around that dark elite crowd. He was Bill Clinton's buddy. He was part of the boys' club. So why is Ron Burkle lending his multi-million-dollar asset to Meghan Markle? What did she do to earn that favor? Billionaires don't just hand out private jets to random actresses out of the goodness of their hearts. Everything in that world is a transaction. Everything has a price tag. The mainstream media tried to ignore this. They called it glamorous. But look closer. This puts Meghan Markle 1 degree of separation away from the island files long before she had a ring on her finger. She was already comfortable in the world of private planes and dark secrets. And she wasn't alone. We need to talk about the yachting rumors. See, this part gets tricky. It's one of those topics you can't really talk about out loud, but if you've been on the internet for more than 5 minutes, you know the term.
Men who are going to be involved in yachting, it's going to be very high up, well-to-do, extremely wealthy men.
Yachting, in this context, doesn't mean sailing. It doesn't mean enjoying the ocean breeze. It refers to a very specific arrangement. Wealthy men host parties on massive super yachts in places like the Mediterranean or the Caribbean.
Well-connected, anonymous businessman type. You wouldn't recognize their name. You have no idea who they are. They probably own a bunch of companies, got a lot of money.
They need atmosphere. They need beauty. So models and actresses are sponsored to attend. Look at the names surrounding Meghan during her single girl summer years. Petra Nemkova, a supermodel, yes, but also someone whose name has cropped up in some uncomfortable conversations regarding the Epstein social circle. Adam Horn, a man known for organizing these excursions. There are photos that are getting harder and harder to find of Meghan on these trips, posing on the decks, living the high life.
Many of you have seen this picture already. You see that there's Meghan with her Cajuna hat? I always forget the name of that.
The official story is that she was just vacationing with friends. But again, look at the money. Look at the logistics. Who funded these weeks of luxury? When you connect the dots between Markus Anderson, the recruiter, Ron Burkle, the financier, and these yachting trips, a picture starts to form. It's not the picture of a fairy tale romance waiting to happen. It's the picture of a woman being groomed for a very specific role within the elite. She was learning the game, and this is where the story takes a dark turn.
Markle's friend Anderson may have been a connector to Epstein as far back as 2001.
Because there is a theory, a very strong theory, that Harry wasn't the first royal she was introduced to. The official story is that Meghan and Harry met on a blind date in London, set up by a mutual friend. A clean, romantic start. But does that explain why Meghan seemed so comfortable around the Yorks? From the very beginning, Meghan had a strange alliance with Prince Andrew's family. She was close with Eugenie. She knew Fergie. In fact, some reports suggest she knew Eugenie before she even met Harry. How?
I would never have introduced them. It would never have occurred to me to introduce them. I couldn't imagine them being friends. They're too real. There's nothing there to connect them. So he met Prince Andrew, and then he had a relationship. I don't like that word.
If you believe the yachting theory, the answer is terrifyingly simple. Prince Andrew, Randy Andy, was a fixture in the exact same circles Meghan was climbing. He was at the parties. He was on the boats. He was friends with the same connectors. Is it possible that Meghan Markle met Prince Andrew years before she met his nephew? Think about the leverage that gives her. Imagine the panic in the palace. Harry brings home a girl, and the family realizes, wait, we know her, and she knows us. She knows where the bodies are buried. This explains so much. It explains why she was allowed to break protocol. If Meghan Markle witnessed Prince Andrew's behavior during her time in the Epstein-adjacent circles, she walked into that marriage with a nuclear bomb in her back pocket.
Virginia Giuffre's lawyer suggests calling Meghan Markle to testify in Prince Andrew case.
But then why did the lawyers get involved? This is the smoking gun, the one piece of evidence the palace can't spin away. During the height of the legal battle between Prince Andrew and his accuser, Virginia Giuffre, David Boies went on record. He made a statement that should have been front-page news everywhere. He said he wanted to depose Meghan Markle. He wanted to interview her as a potential witness in the case against Prince Andrew. Let that sink in. Why Meghan? Why not Kate? Why not William? Why not any other member of the family? Lawyers at that level do not bluff. They don't just pull names out of a hat to create headlines. They only call witnesses if they have reason to believe those witnesses have information. Virginia Giuffre's legal team believed that Meghan Markle had intimate knowledge of Prince Andrew's dealings. They believed she was close enough to the scandal to provide evidence. That implies she was there. It implies she wasn't just a distant in-law. She was an observer of the activities. When that news broke, the timeline of Megxit suddenly makes a lot more sense. The rush to leave the UK, the desperate need for privacy, the sudden distance between Harry and his family. Was the palace trying to protect Harry from the press, or were they frantically trying to get Meghan out of the jurisdiction before she could be forced to testify under oath? If she had taken the stand, the entire House of Windsor could have collapsed. She knew too much. So we come back to the emails. We come back to the files that are just now starting to see the light of day. The media wants you to focus on Harry's whining. They want you to focus on the podcasts, the jams, the Netflix shows. They want you to look at the distraction. But the real story is in the connections. Ron Burkle, Markus Anderson, Petra Nemkova, Prince Andrew. Meghan Markle didn't just stumble into royalty. She navigated a web of billionaires, fixers, and shadowy figures to get there. She walked a path that was paved with the secrets of the most powerful men in the world. And now, those secrets are threatening to spill out. The emails from 2016 to 2019 are the missing link. They could document the transition from friend of the yacht to Duchess of Sussex. And there are people in high places who are terrified of what those emails contain. The question isn't whether Meghan may have been involved. The links may be there. The planes may be there. The names may be there. The question is, what happens when the world finally stops looking at the fairy tale and starts looking at the ledger? What do you think? Did the palace silence the media to protect Harry's heart? Or did they silence them to protect themselves from what Meghan knows about the island? Dig into the comments and let me know. Like this video if you enjoyed, and make sure you're subscribed, because as these new names drop, we'll be right here exposing every single one of them. You don't want to miss what comes next.